Jinzo Attack Force! Battle! Go, my loyal army of Jinzos! Jinzo 1, 2, attack! Jinzo 3! Go, Jinzo 4! And budget Jinzo 5! Yo, they got the same head thing going on. Basically the same dude. Woo! Jinzo, played by none other than Joey Wheeler. Even though it wasn't Joey's card and he did a little bit of conning, stole that card right underneath somebody else's nose, it's still a classic, iconic Joey card. Jinzo is a deck that brings an interesting flavor into Yu-Gi-Oh! And was one of the old cool powerhouses that would just shut down trap cards. Now, while this deck has lost a lot of power, it can still very easily shut down a lot of strategies if you queue into the right matchup. So it's a bit of a dice roll kind of deck, because some decks will beat you very hard, but if you end up facing other really strong strategies, you could just absolutely ruin their day by completely destroying what they want to do. So I set out to make the most consistent version of Jinzo that I could, using a lot of strong power cards, and trying my best to play proactively rather than reactively. You might look at a lot of the trap cards in this deck and think, why would I play traps in a Jinzo deck? But again, it's all about playing proactively. You never want to play a reactive game and let your opponent play, because then you're going to be playing from behind. So I have cards like... So as I'll explain in the card by card, I run a lot of cards to kind of make sure that we're the ones in charge of the game state. Hopefully you enjoy. If you have deck suggestions, be sure to tell me down below. This is actually a deck that was suggested by one of my viewers, so hopefully they enjoy this deck profile. And if you'd like to see something, let me know what you'd like to see too. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get right into the deck profile. Alright, let's hop into the deck profile for Jinzo. So, kicking it off first things first, we have 3 copies of Maxi. Of course, like always, Maxi is just the best card in Master Duel, and you should always be running it at 3. It gives you a shot going second. It's just an extremely powerful card. 2 copies of Ash Blossom, running a bit of the Rogue List hand trap lineup, so we need to cut down on the hand trap so we can run a good variety, since Maxi is going to draw us into other hand traps, so we could hopefully stop our opponent. 3 copies of Jinzo Jector. Now, Jinzo Jector is probably the weakest Jinzo card in the deck, but it does allow you to basically search out the other relevant Jinzo monsters, while also just allowing you to bring them out if your opponent happens to set any trap cards. Now, typically, while this is a more reactive card instead of a proactive card like the other Jinzo cards, that's what makes it so much slower, along with needing you to commit your normal summon most of the time. But again, still an extremely powerful card, and you could get it a lot of times off of reasoning. 3 copies of Psychic Bounder. While Psychic Bounder not being a Jinzo card by name, it is still really good because of how easily it lets you access your other Jinzo cards, especially using it to search cards like Law of the Cosmo. Makes this deck a lot more consistent and just really powerful. 3 copies of the boy himself, Jinzo. Make those trap decks stun players quake in fear. Jinzo's hitting the field. Still an insanely powerful card this many years after the game released. Honestly, if you want the best Jinzo deck, Jinzo is pretty viable. In non-Jinzo strategies, you just plug in a couple of Jinzos in decks that don't require you to commit a normal summon, and he could be a really powerful force. But if you want to dedicate the resources to playing pure Jinzo for a bit more fun, then this is probably the deck for you. 1 copy of Psychic Mega Cyber. So again, Mega Cyber suffers just like Jector, where it's a reactive card, and that's the reason why it's only run at 1. While Mega Cyber is an insanely powerful card, Jector, while being reactive, can still be played proactively as a bit of a minus. The thing is about Mega Cyber is that this card is completely dead except when it's being used reactively. So it's really just not worth running at higher ratios than this. Sometimes you'll happen to see it, but you don't want to see multiple copies of this, especially if you're going first. 3 copies of the Machine Menace. This card is really good. Really, really good. And it's impressive how good this card is, especially for an archetype like Jinzo, allowing you to special summon itself, bringing a really heavy body, and clearing your opponent's backline when you special summon out your Jinzo monsters. By the way, this doesn't only summon Jinzo, this can summon Jinzo Jector, and the effect can still go off because this is treated as Jinzo, and then you can just use Jector's effect and continue digging through your deck. A really powerful card, definitely mandatory at 3. This is the, like, blood and bone of the archetype. This is what will win you most of your games. 1 copy of Monster Reborn. Again, a lot of really powerful spell cards since we're going to be stopping traps. Just really good, and especially good at getting back out your big boss monsters. 3 copies of Reasoning. Now, I think Reasoning at 3 is absolutely vital in this deck, and why this is so much better in Master Duel than it would be in the TCG. It's really hard for your opponent to call the level of your monster because you run so many random levels with 7, 6, 4, and then the hand traps. Although the hand traps do make cards like Reasoning a little bit worse, again, you could always just tribute over them with cards like Jinzo if you do hit a hand trap. It also just lets you set up your graveyard, and the more questionable part of this deck, and it's you see the 6 trap cards here, which typically doesn't synergize with Jinzo, but you really want to send these trap cards to at least one copy of a trap card to the graveyard with Reasoning if you happen to be going first, because it'll make the Machine Menace live, since Machine Menace requires a trap card in either graveyard, not just your opponent's. 1 copy of Instant Fusion. I think Instant Fusion is just really good in this deck, and we run a lot of Called by the Grave effects in this deck. I used to run Omega, it ended up getting it cut, but this just makes a really nice way to sort of clean up your opponent's board with things like Thousand Eyes Restrict and Relinquished Anima. I think it's just very powerful, and I wouldn't really cut this package, even though it's a bit expensive. 3 copies of Law of the Cosmo. Offer your opponents a little bargain, a little bit of a deal, sell them something. Law of the Cosmos is just really good because if your opponent decides to set the trap card, you get a Jinzo for free. Heaven forbid they actually do that, because why would they? And if not, it at least draws you the Jinzo and makes your Machine Menace like completely live. 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity, really just to dig for those power cards to make sure we can find those powerful things that we need to see early on. And since our extra deck basically doesn't matter, 2 copies of Called by the Grave, again, just so we don't get hand trapped, playing around hand traps as much as possible, especially because we have the room. 3 copies of Cyber Energy Shock, a really good removal tool since you do need the removal. Not only that, if you end up destroying a trap card, this also doubles as an effect veiler effect or just an attack buff. It's just kind of versatile. It's kind of a fun card that is really good in the archetype. 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. Now, again, this is the really questionable part for a lot of people, and I completely understand why you're confused, but these trap cards are very important because we need to play proactively, and again, with cards like Reasoning, it's going to let us set up the graveyard. The reason why I chose Torrential Tribute is because if you end up having a dead opening hand going first, Torrential Tribute is one of the easiest trap cards to get in the graveyard that is likely to allow you to survive to another turn. Setting a trap card and passing is a really dangerous game, but Torrential Tribute is really one of those end your opponent's turn cards. If you use it properly, then this is one of the easiest ways to just completely shut down the turn and get into the next one, while making your cards simultaneously live. And 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, because again, just a really good going second hand trap. Not only that, this is a trap card that we could put in the graveyard immediately without any bother, because we just negate anything on our opponent's field, and boom, trap card in the graveyard. Now, going on to the extra deck. So this really is only a 4 card extra deck. Thousand Eyes Restrict, Millennium Eyes Restrict, and Relinquished Anima. These are the Instant Fusion package. Millennium Eyes Restrict is basically a Called by the Grave because it can eat something in the graveyard and negate it, so you could chain it to a hand trap. Thousand Eyes Restrict, just to eat an opponent's monster if we're having trouble dealing with something. And Relinquished Anima, we could just link over either of these two and then eat a bonus monster if your opponent positions poorly. Then after that, all of these cards are optional or cuttable. Again, I recommend running 13 cards until they fix the DD Dynamite combo, but otherwise, these are just optional good choices that can sometimes come up, but again, not at all necessary. Just have cards in your extra deck for Pot of Prosperity, even though they never come up. Abyss Dweller, just to counter any graveyard strategy, so you could shut down things like Tri-Brigade. Silent Honor Arc for dealing with any big, sticky special summon monsters. Exciton Knight, I think, is really good. If there is one card that you're willing to craft in this extra deck that isn't the Relinquish package, it should be Exciton Knight. I actually think this is way better than Layered Jinzo. This card can really swing games back in your favor. 1 copy of Malevolent Sin, just in case we need bigger attacks, since 24 is kind of the cap for this deck. Tornado Dragon, removing some back row. Time Thief Redoer, again, just a generic good level 4. Dugaris for a little bit of card draw and search power. Then we have Jinzo Layered at 2 copies. This is basically steals a monster, but they can attack, use effects, and they get it back, so you really just need to link it off or do something with it. This synergizes well with one of the other Jinzo spell cards, but it's just such a niche and bad card and so dead in your hand so often that I don't really think it's worth going all in. Yeah, this is a whatever card. The Relinquished Anima, again, because it synergizes well with the Relinquish package. Cerberus, so it's generic link 2 to deal with annoying monsters. Nightmare Phoenix, generic link 2 for dealing with macro, and 1 copy of Unicorn. Typically you'd see access code in this, but again, access code is a UR, and even though I typically stick it in every deck, and you can stick it in this deck, it's really, really hard to make a link 4 with his deck. Like, you have no monsters, and even with the steal effects, like, you need to use 2 monsters to make this already. It's basically never going to come up. I think a Link 4 is a little too ambitious. That was the card by card. I'm going to go ahead and get right into some gameplay and show you guys what this deck can do. Oh boy, I'm gonna regret this one. Alright, so going first as Jinzo, definitely a positive. Woo! Wait a second, this hand kinda nice. And this is why I really like the triple. I hate how much I get these prismatics on my alternate account. My main account, by the way, nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. You don't have Ash Block. Bro, you do not. Oh, he has to pick a number. What number they pick? 1. Bro, you made a big mistake. 1. This guy said 1. Oh, and is that a little trap card I see you put in the graveyard? A little trap card? I will take a Law of the Cosmos, but that looks like a little trap card my opponent just put in the graveyard. My opponent would not dare put a itty-bitty trap card in the graveyard, right? Seems to me like there's an itty-bitty trap card in my graveyard. That makes me feel like a bit of a menace. A machine man. I need to be stopped. Okay, so actually searching out the Ring of Destruction, I offered my opponent a deal. Look at how many Royal Rares I get on this, though. Tell me that's not pure pain. I don't know if it's a good idea to bring this out, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. Set! I'm gonna get right Geki'd for my whole life savings, aren't I? Okay, so now I have a monster negate, which is actually kind of cool. Okay, this deck's a little more fun than I give it. Was that Ring of Destruction? Ooh, BDD Dynamite. Make my day. Okay. I guess. Let's see what I draw. Alright. Draw! Like and subscribe button! Hello! Well, I mean, do it for her. Okay, an Ash Blossom isn't exactly going to do a ton here. I can go ahead and just pop the back row, but I think I'd rather hold on to it to be safe. So we're just going to play a little bit of Jinzo Beatdown. Ooh, was not expecting that. Maybe I should have... Oh, okay, no, so that would have worked even if it was sent to the graveyard. So, it seems like this play was right. Okay, so now if you summon something to a Chonky, I'm just going to pop it with Cyber Energy Shock. This guy's gonna think I'm like the biggest Jinzo sweat on the planet. Classic Blue. Wait, Blue Eye's playing Komodo? I mean, I ain't gonna complain. That's a little too big. Wait, what? Why is this card like cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster that has the same attack? Is this like intentionally made to counter me? Get out of here. I'm a Machine Menace. Add back the Machine Menace. I dare you, coward. No, my Ginzo! Ginzo, no! So I could just tribute summon this, but I think it's a little more valuable to have the effect of the machine. Are you gonna target my Machine Menace? Oh. Yeah, I kind of forgot that the Machine Menace doesn't have the same effect as Ginzo. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm just gonna go ahead and bring it out again. Bro, I didn't forget. I just wanted the burn damage on my opponent. See, now my opponent's that much closer to dying. Duh. This is actually a really nice hand. Weird Blue Eyes deck, but whatever. I was just thinking that far ahead. My opponent's eating shit mead. I don't know what that means. Okay, setting trap cards, because that's always going to do you so well against Jinzo. And set more trap cards. What is this? Am I fighting a structure deck? Okay, see, so on the end of main phase, I'm going to act a little menacing, bring back out Jinzo here, and let's pop the back row. Rush recklessly! Okay, that's really good to know. So this is 2200, and that's why it's really nice to be able to check your opponent's back row. I don't know what I'm playing against. I need to keep these alternate accounts a little higher leveled. You can't activate Rush Recklessly the turn you said it. Stop! 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 You cannot activate it the turn you said it. No! No! He doesn't know! He doesn't know! He doesn't know! Oh no, you can't activate Quick Plays the turn you said. Oh, he doesn't know! He doesn't know! Oh no, he doesn't know! Oh, Jinzo Ejector, get in there. Oh, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. I'm gonna bring out little Jinzo Ejector just to pop my little Jinzo Ejector. And I'll offer my opponent another deal, a little bargain, a little side bin bargain, see if they take me up on the offer. Ooh. I thought I could search spell cards with this, I'm not gonna lie to you. Are you... Oh. I straight up thought my opponent rushed recklessly. I completely forget I get to scope out my opponent's stuff. Alright. Well, it's been nice and all. Now, I need to stop making the menace joke. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up. Nice and clean little ending. Attack! Go! Pikachu! I choose you! There we go. I could summon some... Oh yeah, I could summon Jinzo Ejector. If I really wanted to. Go! Jinzo Oh wait, you're not a Jinzo. Psychic Bounder! Dude, you're not gonna rush recklessly me. Oh, I guess he is gonna rush recklessly me. I mean, if you're gonna die, you might as well go out in style. Alright. Let's get a little few licks in with the buff and finish it off with the Royal Rare. How all things are meant to be. And that was a little bit of a maniacal machine menace Jinzo deck. Again, this is not the most high power level deck that you're going to find in Master Duel, but it is a lot of fun, especially something to play at the start of season ranked reset, because it could get a lot of easy wins in ranks like Gold. While you will struggle a bit more once you hit tiers like Platinum with this deck, it could still do a ton in tiers before that, and that's not... And while every deck can hit Platinum, this is definitely something more for a casual scene, especially if you're playing games with friends. If you really do want the best possible Jinzo deck, just put 3 copies of Jinzo in any deck that doesn't require you to commit a normal summon, things like Orchist and the such. And while I can make the best list for it by doing a deck profile like that, at the end of the day, it's just a deck with 3 Jinzos instead of a dedicated Jinzo deck, so I do think this is the strongest variant of pure Jinzo that you could hope to play. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the deck profile. It was a lot of fun making this. This one took a lot of testing, especially compared to some of my other decks. This is just a really difficult deck to make consistently powerful enough to beat decks in Platinum, so I did spend a bit more time on this one than I normally would on other ones, and I do tend to spend a lot of time on these already. But hopefully it was worth it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think. Be sure to drop any kind of comment down below because it helps a lot with the algorithm. And thank you for watching. Anyways, this has been Rojas, signing out.